game we got to move on to is the Milwaukee-Boston game. Obviously, this was the only overtime game throughout the whole playoffs, the overtime thriller. Boston wins 113-107. Obviously, the high points of these guys was Al Horford with 24, Giannis Antetokounmpo with 35, but there were other players along with Al Horford that had 20 points plus, and that hasn't been done since 91 for the Boston Celtics. This game was a little bit of a coming out party for Jason Tatum, I think. Obviously, him, Mitchell, and Simmons, the rookies, you would say, even though I'm not sure if Ben Simmons counts as a rookie. But these guys showed out, and Jason Tatum showed you why he's probably one of the craftiest of the bunch, of the three. The way that he was able to score that reverse right-hand layup over Giannis was insane.
He's incredible. Jason Tatum is the real deal. And any other year, this guy's rookie of the year. Any other year, except he has Donovan Mitchell, one of the top 12 guard rookie years of all time, and Ben Simmons is just a monster. This game, and I texted you this while the game was happening, was absolutely just a matter of talent versus coaching. And there was absolutely no coaching on the side of the Bucks. Like, they were just like, go out there and do your thing, guys. They looked, for most of that game, I was just so unenthused with the Bucks play based on the talent that they have.
Right.
And then they finally went to the Giannis at center lineup, and they did some better stuff towards the end of the game. But, I mean, for OT, they only went to OT based on a ridiculous shot by Chris Middleton. Yeah,
that was probably the clutchest shot of all time, but it gets erased.
I just, like, that is not going to happen every game. Yeah. And Chris Middleton's not going to put up, I think he put up like 31 points, if I remember correctly. He's just not going to do that every game. Let me make sure I'm not lying to you. Chris Middleton had 31 points. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Any other game this series. I honestly think the Celtics are going to sweep this one.
I'm not sure if it's going to be a sweep. I think it will be 7 games. I think
really
the way that it's a star-driven league. Giannis is the star. I think he has enough talent around him to draw out 7 games from this, but I think Boston with the better coaching wins it the whole series, but it's going to be a tough 7 games because I don't see anyone. I mean, we're never going to get another time where where the Celtic players get 20-plus point games. Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that is a fair counterpoint. But I just think that Brad Stevens himself is worth 10 points. Like, per game, he's worth 10 points.
He's putting up those 10 points.
But, like, Jabari Parker is a non-factor for this team.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like, the first time in a while that he's been, like, truly healthy. And I think it's still trying to get used to this team. I think, like you talked about with the coaching for the Bucks, they haven't really found a coach that really unites them and like really taps into their strengths and puts out the best mismatch lineups for them. Because with Giannis, I think at center is probably an interesting kind of look.
They would devastate the Celtics, like just offensively. You know, there would be nothing they could do with Giannis at the center. 4 shooters on the court and Giannis, there's nothing you can do. I mean, defensively they'd be terrible, but
they'd be all right. I think because Horford can't keep up with Giannis, and Horford was covering Giannis most of the time in that game.
Yeah.
And I love Horford, but he's slower than Giannis, so I think when you mismatch, it's still a league of threes. Whoever hits the most threes wins.
Yeah.
And I think with all the talent around him, I feel like Giannis' team should be able to hit more threes than us. We have a good 3-point shooting team, but not a great 3-point shooting team. But I think the Bucks are just a little bit better, but we'll see. It's like I said, 7-game series. We'll see if the Bucks can come back with an answer.
Well, like I said, I'm feeling much more confident in your boys than you are. I think they're going to sweep it. I don't think it's going to be a competition for most of these games. Next game, probably one of the more talked about. I think this might be the most talked about game.
Yeah, just because of who's in it.
The Pacers and the Cavaliers.
Yep.
Final score of 98-80. Unsuspecting winner, the Pacers.
Yep. The lowest scoring game of the whole NBA.
The Cavaliers. They're trash.
I think this is a sign that LeBron's leaving.
If they lose to the Pacers in round 1, LeBron's bags were packed after game 2.
I think they were actually packed before that. I think they were packed during it because the way that I feel like him and Larry Nance were giving the energy like you talked about off camera. But the thing with this Cleveland team is that obviously it's a game of threes like we talked about. they poorly shot the ball. Meanwhile, Victor Oladipo, who obviously was the MVP of this game, having 32 points.
He was insane.
He scored so many. He backed up from in the backcourt and then just kind of came up and just shot it. I mean, there's no defense to that. You just got to tip your hat off to Oladipo. He made all the threes. Lance Stevenson. He had a great game. Obviously, headbutted the hoop.
I love Lance Stevenson.
Obviously, LeBron versus Lance Stevenson, part 78. Another great matchup. Always watching those two is funny. But I just think it was an off night for Cleveland in terms of shooting threes. Obviously, I think J.R. Smith is more equipped, and maybe there might be another lineup change with him in the starting lineup instead of...
I just don't think it matters.
I think he shoots a lot better than these other guys. I mean, George Hill has given you nothing. Since you traded for him.
I mean, he's played all right defense, but it's not worth him being on the court.
Yeah.
I still think the Cavaliers are going to win.
Yeah.
Like, I can't bet against LeBron, but I'm going to throw an X factor into this series.
Okay, what's your X factor?
Bogdanovich for the Pacers. And I'm being dead serious, right?
Okay.
He's a weird match for anybody on the team because LeBron is obviously going to play on Oladipo for most of it.
Mm-hmm.
He shot pretty poorly that first game.
Yeah.
But Bogdanovich is a weird mismatch for the Cavs. And if he can shoot efficiently and put up like 18 or 20 points a game, I just don't see what the Cavs are going to do. Because Oladipo is good enough that he's going to score regardless of who's playing defense on him at this point in his career. But like Miles Turner, there's really nobody who can defend him either. You know? And just defensively, this team is much better than the Cavs. I don't know. There's a lot more energy from the Pacers. They just seem like they want it more.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of like some of the guys want it. Obviously, Oladipo had his beef with Dan Gilbert after what he said about the trade, that they wanted Paul George, and obviously Oladipo felt slighted.
Yeah.
And this is also just another. I hate to do this, but Colin Cowherd was kind of right about this. It's just kind of the Westbrook effect. The players that come off of Westbrook's team end up playing a lot better.
He's like the anti-Celtics. Russell Westbrook is the anti-Celtics.
He gives everyone so much talent. It's ridiculous.
It's really interesting. I mean, that Pacers team is really good. As a squad, they're still really young. So I'm very curious to see what they're going to do in Game 2. If the Cavs come out flat again in Game 2 and lose by double digits, I'm going to go ahead and say the series it's over.
It's over.
And even though LeBron's talking about nobody knows deficits better than me in the playoffs, like I'm fine. He's playing by himself, really.
Yeah, because the bench players aren't really giving him much. Hopefully, what this does is that it shows the bench players like, look, this is the type of intensity, this is the type of play that you have to have for this playoff series, or else we're gonna get our butts kicked.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to the next game. Jazz Thunder. 108 Jazz, 116 Thunder. What'd you think, Bernie? You're a big Jazz fan, as you can tell by the nice little shirt Bernie's wearing. What did you think?
I think that what this comes down to is, like I've been saying probably throughout the whole season, they're one superstar away from really competing. Obviously, I think what this game came down to is when, like, I keep not wanting to bash him, but when Russell Westbrook is off the court and Paul George is playing on his own, dude puts up monster numbers. Like, it's ridiculous how...
It's ridiculous.
It's how crazy to think that he said that his shot mechanics are off. Not the case. Obviously, he's on one right now, and we'll see how he continues on to the playoffs. I just think the Thunder have too many superstars on their team to overcome this Jazz team, which it sucks to see that it's a star-driven league, but it is, unfortunately. And the fact that you have Russell Westbrook, who can give you numerous amount of points, rebounds, assists, can do all of it on the court. Carmelo actually showed up and played.
For the first 2 quarters.
For the first half, yeah.
Second half, terrible.
Second half, he was kind of a liability. But Paul George obviously carried everyone with the 36 points. And it just goes to show you that I think this Thunder's team might be a dark horse.
I think this is your most surefire 7-game series, in my opinion. Like, I think it's going to go 7 games. And I do want to say the Thunder are probably going to win it. Just based on talent levels, I think they have more. We talked about this in our pre-playoff discussion. I think the biggest person for the Jazz team is Rubio. Like, needs to put up some points. And he was just not making anything in that first game. Like, he was pretty poor. But I mean, Paul George looked incredible. You know, it's hard to lose when you have Paul George and Russell Westbrook on your team in form and playing up to their standards. Paul George just needs to keep shooting the ball. If I'm the Thunder, you put Melo as your sixth man and you just let Paul George shoot.
I mean, I just tell Westbrook, look, get the ball to Paul George. You'll get your assists, you'll get your rebounds, and you'll at least get 10 points. And you'll get your triple-double.
I mean, if you get your open lane, you can drive, just score your easy buckets too. He probably still put up 20 just doing that.
Yeah, and I think another thing for the Jazz is also Joe Ingles obviously didn't give him anything, and Paul George and Ingles obviously had a little beef during the playoffs, but Joe Ingles only gave you 13 points.
Gotta have more.
Gotta have more than that. Rudy Gobert missed some free throws at the line that probably could have closed the gap a little bit more, but that you can't expect too much from a center that's shooting. I can't remember how much he's shooting around, but it's definitely less than 70%, which is a recipe for not making most of your free throws. Yeah. So we'll see. This is gonna be an interesting series. I'm curious to see how long it'll go. I think it might go 6 and it'll go to the Thunder. Like I've been saying, Jazz one superstar away.
I was very pleased that Donovan Mitchell just looked the same as he did in the regular season. It looked just like himself. He was incredible. I just think that you need at least 4 or 5 more points from Rubio and Ingles for this to be really competitive. They just need to score.
Yeah.
Last game. Go for it, Bernie.
No, I was just going to say last game we got to talk about, of course, is the Minnesota-Houston game. Obviously, this one was more of a closer matchup and probably one of the most intriguing games of the whole playoffs so far, I would say, of all the game ones. 104-101, Houston wins. Obviously, James Harden does what he does as the MVP, 44 points, and Andrew Wiggins with 18, leading the Timberwolves. This game came down to one thing and one thing only. The Rockets just missed all their shots.
They did, and they still won.
They missed all their shots, and they still won. And it also comes down to not knowing how to really solidify Karl Anthony Towns as your number one option on offense. Meanwhile, having Butler as your second, Andrew Wiggins as your third. I felt like it was in some weird order where Wiggins was your second option, Butler was your first option, and Karl Anthony Towns was your second or third option.
I would honestly say Cat was like their fourth option. Teague was like their third.
Yeah. Because it felt like Karl Anthony Towns only had 9 field goals in this game. He should at least have 20.
He should be shooting.
He should be demanding the ball
21 times a game.
There's a mismatch every time when he's on the floor and on the offensive side. Defense, not so much, but on the offensive side, he's a mismatch waiting to happen. And I just felt like they didn't really take advantage of that and really play through him. And I think this just comes down to Coach Thibodeau playing like it's 1997 instead of playing like it's 2018.
Tibbs is a terrible coach. And I'm sorry, Wolves fans. I would hope some of you feel the same way. Like, that last minute of basketball in that game was just nightmarishly bad. Honestly, for both teams. Chris Paul had a really terrible pass. But, just look at the final play of the Wolves' offense and tell me that that's not terrible coaching. It's just like, you drew up a play where Jimmy Butler had to get... It was just, you basically didn't draw up a play. Jimmy Butler just run around, call for the pass, and then shoot wherever you get it. And he didn't even shoot a three-pointer. He shot a 2. And it was a terrible look, and then they lost the game.
Yeah, they needed to come up with something where there's an easier way for Jimmy Butler to get a clean shot off. I just think Jimmy Butler waited too long. They obviously had 8 seconds left on the clock when they got the ball back after that Chris Paul turnover. And they didn't really take advantage of getting Butler open, T open, or even Wiggins open. They didn't really do anything. And then, we see Butler stand there for 3 to 4 seconds, having the ball in his hand, and then putting up a deep 2. It's ridiculous. Thibodeau, there are some adjustments that need to be made. Obviously, you came at the players yesterday, but I think this also comes down to you too. And also, I think Karl Anthony Towns as well. I think he has to demand the ball. He has to say, look, we got to play through me. That's the only way we're going to win, especially when the Rockets are missing their shots. They now control the tempo. Yeah. You can slow it down.
I mean, Cat could easily average 28 points based on his offensive skill set, but he just doesn't shoot the ball. He doesn't get the ball. He doesn't shoot the ball. There's nobody on Houston that can guard Cat. Nobody in the West really can guard him. There's only 2 dudes, Anthony Davis and Gobert. But even in that sense, he's still going to put up 25 points if he's shooting the right amount of times. I will say my one takeaway for the Timberwolves, Derrick Rose looked pretty good.
Derrick Rose was pretty good. The thing I also got frustrated with, too, is that they had Jimmy Butler on James Harden. For a guy that just came back from a surgery, I think you should probably switch the matchup to Wiggins covering Harden. Wiggins is a more athletic dude and can keep up with him, and also put more pressure on Harden as well. I feel like too many times they're just like sitting back, letting him decide what he can do instead of actually going to attack him first.
I don't know. I think Butler's the right choice on Harden.
I think
he's much better.
I think with the meniscus though, I think you got to be careful with that because if he gets injured again.
But you gotta weigh it, right? Is the meniscus thing worth not letting your best defender defend him, or do you want to put Wiggins on him, who's at times a little bit suspect on defense? He played pretty good defensively in the game last night, but he does have some stinkers for sure.
I don't know. I think with Butler, the amount of offense that he has to put up as being like the second option, he needs a break and not playing so much defense. I think it's just Thibodeau not really understanding the whole concept. I don't know.
If they get swept, is Tibbs gone?
Tibbs is gone. I think Tibbs is gone either way if they don't get far. Because I think
he should be gone.
I think, let's get Fitzdale in there. I know we keep championing Fitzdale, but let's get Fitzdale, let's get Jackson, let's get even, I don't know about Van Gundy. But
nah, you can throw Jeff Van Gundy in there, why not?
Jeff, maybe even David Blatt might be a better fit for this team. But Thibodeau, I think with him, he coaches like it's like I've been saying, like it's in the 90s. It's the 90s.
Yeah.
He's not coaching like it's 2018 where it's a 3-point league.
No, it's really bad. It's really bad. Thibodeau was just the anti-MVP of that whole game. Honestly, maybe of the whole Timberwolves season.
I think so.
Anyway, guys, let us know what you think about these playoff games. Got some more stuff to talk about.